Say hallelujah. The 23-24 season is just about to start. Dylan and Chris, we got some bold predictions. We're going to talk about them. Armchair GM podcast brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network.
Well, Chris, the preseason is actually finally done after 8 long games. Seems like everybody except Rasmus Anderson thinks it's just way too much. What do you think?
You know, it's I'm not one of those people that take a lot out of the preseason. It's nice to see, the young kids try and get a spot on the team and whatnot. I mean, you can pinpoint a few players that you would like to have seen more from. But it was pretty much a train wreck, in good ways and bad ways, right? We started out on such a high note, taking on Vancouver with that big beating to start the preseason, and then
Yeah,
they laid it on us for the last game, right? That 3-1 on Friday, which, I mean, it was such a lackluster effort by the Flames, which is frustrating because of how many actual starters were playing that game. But I mean, do they want to injure themselves in the preseason? Probably not.
I mean, no, and that's part of it, right? Is you watch around the league, you see Mark Stone get run by a nobody, and then basically talk about how the guy's a nobody afterwards. But like Jake Truba absolutely destroyed Toffoli after one of the Devils destroyed one of it's preseason and players are playing like it's regular season, and like I get it, but also there's too many games. These guys are ready to go, and maybe it's just time to cut down on the preseason a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I mean, look at Pelche, right? I
Yeah,
mean, there's a chance that his season came to an end after that hit, right?
it probably did. Like if he comes back, it'll be the very end of the season, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. Once again, for the third time now, I'm not super impressed with Wolf. Um, I've been saying all along, I really hope he does well. There's a huge jump between AHL and NHL.
absolutely, he didn't I didn't think he was bad.
No,
I think I think all of the goalies had good games and all of the goalies had bad games. And what resulted of it was keeping the two more veteran goalies up and sending the other guy down, and people freaked out over it. And the way I look at it is there's going to be a couple times during the season where both teams are at home and they're both in Calgary now. So Wolf is going to get called up for a couple games here and there, and he's going to get pretty much the exact same amount of games as Vladar is in the NHL, but he's also going to get like 50 AHL games.
well, and that's huge, right?
So, would you rather have a guy have 50 AHL games and 10 NHL games, or 10 NHL games and no AHL games?
Yeah, exactly. If you want to stunt, you know, the growth of a goaltender, just make them watch games for half a season. Like, it makes
Yeah,
no sense to just sit there and watch. I
yeah,
mean, I get everybody wants him to be the next savior. We'll wait. We'll wait and see if that ends up being the case. But I mean, it's clearly better for his development to be playing games.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree. And even if it's games like he is too good for the AHL, but we're in a we're in a situation now where we have an asset in Vladar, and we have another asset in Wolf. And the worst, in my opinion, the worst thing we can do is force Wolf to be Markstrom's backup and just not play a whole bunch of games and ship Vladar off for less than he's worth.
Yeah.
So let's just wait a little bit and let Conroy do something, or that's my opinion on it. Anyways.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, if I had seen something through the preseason that made me go, "Holy shit, he needs to be,
Yeah,
game one starter," it'd be a different conversation.
but
But
I didn't
but
see that either. So
so I mean, it is what it is. I mean, preseason is what preseason will be. Um, you get to see a big chunk of what you have in the organization. We do have some players that I do think will become impact NHL players in the future.
I agree.
I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many. I don't know how full our cupboard really is.
I think it's better than a lot of people think, but I still don't think it's that good. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because
yeah. It feels like it's good enough to keep the Flames going on the 10th to 6th in the West for another decade.
yeah, pretty much. Um, but you want to get into some hot takes, and
Oh, do I?
I don't know how hot they are, but some bold predictions, anyways.
Bold predictions.
You want to kick us off?
Do I want to kick us off? Let's go. I want to start off with Noah Hannafin.
Mm-hmm.
I I mean it's not exactly rocket science here. He's on a contract year. He's looking to get paid. I think he's going to have a career year in goals, assists, obviously ending in a career year in points. Currently, his best season was the 21-22 season where he played 81 games, 10 goals, 38 assists for 48 points. I think he's going to beat that by a large margin. I think he's going to end up right around the 62-point mark.
62, that's really good for a defenseman, especially
Mhm.
one that doesn't play power play one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if he'll play power play two with Uyghur on the team.
I would think that Uyghur gets that spot, but I don't know. Are we going to continue on with two, power play one and two being four forwards and one D? Not really sure. I
Me neither.
I think he's gonna I think he's gonna explode, especially early on. He showed a lot of promise to me in the preseason. He was shooting a lot more. He was kind of all over the puck. I was actually quite impressed with his play this preseason.
I was too. He definitely shot a lot. He skated faster than he usually does. That's one thing I've never really got is people say he's an incredibly fast skater, and I'm like pretty he's an okay skater. Like he's not a bad skater, but I wouldn't call him like super fast for the NHL or anything. But
No.
he seems like he's getting ready for a contract year, like you were saying. So I could see that. Do you figure he stays in Calgary for the whole year, or that he gets extended or anything like that?
Um, my my honest gut says that he's a deadline trade,
Yeah,
and unless he starts showing more in his interviews that he's super pumped and happy about being in Calgary, which I mean he's a professional, he's going to say the right things, but you can also read body language
mm-hmm.
and just the expression on their faces and how excited they are to even talk about it. I mean, there's a huge difference between watching Noah Hannafin talk opposed to Zadorov.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like Zadorov just
100%.
openly likes being here,
Yeah.
which is nice for one of your players. But I mean, obviously they're two different people. I know Hannafin's a little more laid back, I guess, or maybe an introvert slightly
A
when
little
it
bit.
comes to dealing with the media, which I get. I understand that. If I had to talk to Francis every day, I wouldn't want
Yeah,
to say much
me too.
either, right?
And
So
that's I was gonna say, like it's hard sometimes to read because we don't know the people, but like last time we spoke, you said that you thought Lindholm would eventually get re-signed, but he doesn't seem pumped or happy. But he also never seen like someone in our group chat was saying like, oh no, he doesn't seem like he wants to stay. He probably won't stay. I'm like that is the face that Lindholm made when he scored 5 points 2 years ago in a game and had an interview afterwards. That's just who he is.
that is true.
He doesn't want to talk to anyone.
That is true. But if you remember, um, it wasn't just this last season, the year before, I think they did a lot of interviews where they'd have two guys sitting at the table or whatever, and they'd
Yeah,
be kind of talking and whatnot. There was quite a few times when he was in that setting that he looked happy because he'd be joking with the person sitting with him and things like that. So, but
Lindholm or Hannafin.
Lindholm,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, Lindholm. I think he was kind of feeding off what was happening with the
In the
media and
room.
whatnot, and then obviously they were having a lot more fun, right, at
Yeah,
that time. So
exactly.
I mean that it all makes sense. But no, you're right. He's another one. Lindholm's kind of got that straight business type attitude when he's talking with the media. He doesn't really answer questions the way necessarily that we would like.
I
He's got his staged his given answers for questions, and he rolls with it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Hannafin gets traded, but I'll get into that. You know what? Because it kind of runs into one of my hot takes too. Well, bold predictions. I'm gonna say they let Tanev's contract run out. They don't trade him and they don't extend him. They let his contract run out. And I'm going to go a little further into this, but I'm going to tie it back into what you said. I think a reason that they do this is because they'd rather keep other guys because of age, basically.
Right.
So they want to use his cap space on other guys. But I also think that there's a big chance if they let his Tanev's contract run out that they kind of circle back a couple days into free agency or a couple weeks into free agency or whatever, and they come to an agreement with him because he's stated that he wants to be in Western Canada. The Canucks have already let him go.
Yeah.
The Oilers have no cap space. So maybe he might want to come back for cheaper for short term.
Mhm.
But I don't that part I'm not so sure about. It's kind of something I've been throwing around my head, but I do think that they're going to let his contract just run out and he's going to explore free agency whether he comes back or not.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, let's be honest. On the in the trade market, he's not worth that much.
I think he would be at the deadline if
He
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 was if he
he'd be
was
a
healthy.
brilliant, yeah, he'd be a brilliant player to pick up at the deadline.
Like imagine like I just said the Oilers don't have cap space, but imagine a guy like him on that team. Just a guy who can play defense. Like remember when they got fucking Matthias at home and I was like that's exactly what they needed. They just needed a guy who plays defense. If they had one more guy who plays good defense, they'd be a great team,
Yep.
you know? Or
Yep.
another team, you know, a Colorado could use him. You know, another good team who just needs a little bit less pucks at their own net.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's that's the type of anybody that needs a shutdown guy or just solid defense going into playoffs, which is absolutely needed. But of course, the big question mark is, is Tanev going to be healthy by the end of the season?
Yeah.
He's only ever played one full season in his career.
Yeah.
which is just mind blowing to me. And that one full season was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So he's
He
got that ten team no trade list, which I would suspect that for the most part it doesn't really include a lot of playoff teams. So I think
no teams that would want him.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that keeps it pretty wide open for things at the deadline if there is some sort of package that could be dealt for that.
I agree.
And then it's
Buffalo. Buffalo. Oh, Jesus.
geez, that would be
Right.
nice, wouldn't it? That'd be
Yeah.
they're going to be a strong team this year, so I mean that's not a
And
bad idea.
they need somebody to keep the pucks away from their net or a goalie.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad take, to be honest. I mean, if I thought we could get a first or a second for him, then I'd be questioning you more on it. But I think just given the style of play that he is, he's just an absolute stud when it comes to playing defense.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the popularity that others do.
Name brand.
Name brand, yeah.
And he's getting older and the health thing, and also I just think that they like him, right? And I think that they want to keep, like, I would want to keep him too. I just feel like they want to keep Hannafin more, or they'd want to keep Hannafin and Lindholm more, and then they really need his cap space, right? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, he turns 34 in December, I guess midway through the season. So, I mean, he's not a spring chicken. He's got a lot of hard miles on that body of his. So,
He
I
does.
mean, just his full on future is always in question, right? I mean, I feel like he's just one hit away from that being it because man, he puts himself through some abuse.
He does, and he doesn't. I feel like this might be the most healthy we've seen him. He usually doesn't let himself heal properly before he comes back, or at all. He'll just come back the next shift when
Well,
he with his
yeah,
shoulder hanging off of his,
right.
like.
Yeah, look at that when you come back in playoffs. I mean, he couldn't play. He couldn't physically do it, but he still did it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was a struggle. It was hard to watch him out there.
You
Like
probably
I
just
felt really bad for him.
Yeah, me too. Um, all right, you're up. What's your next bold prediction?
Well, I mean, we all know that they seem to have Walker Dewar listed on the fourth line. I think you and I have both talked about how impressive he is as a player and how dynamic he truly is. I don't think he belongs on the fourth, and I think by Christmas he's going to be in the top six.
I like that. I'm definitely not going to argue with it. I'm not sure if the top six is how they're going to get him more minutes. I definitely don't see him being a full time fourth liner. Um, I mean, for the first little bit of the season, they'll staple him there because for some reason he's been typecast there. But
Yeah, it's
to me,
unfortunate.
whether they give him a little bit of power play time, a little bit extra PK time, um, throw him out there for an extra shift with a couple of guys who have a tired line mate for some reason or whatever, they'll find more minutes for him because he's effective when he's out there.
Yeah, he really is. He makes his line mates better. He just generates opportunities, and yeah, I think they need to get him off the fourth line and put him where he belongs on the third or and then work his way up to the second if possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they'd take, Coronado or Sharangovich off of there for him, off of the second line, but you never know, right? Like
Mhm.
if he produces more, I think he can. He's got a hell of a a hell of a shot. He can dangle. He's one of the only guys on the team who likes to hang out in front of the net, and he's physical. Like he is a power forward that can score. He's just typecast into a grinder line or into
Yeah,
a grinder
in
uh,
that role.
role. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at how they have it listed, at least currently, the way the practices were on Monday, that you got Hunt, you got Rizika, and you got Dewar together, and obviously, in my opinion, out of those three, Dewar's got the best opportunity to move up in the lineup. Um, Rizika can absolutely play on the third and second line, but I still think he needs to show
shift
more
by
when he's
shift, he disappears and
yeah
comes back and disappears and comes back. It's really frustrating to watch.
yeah absolutely. I think he needs to work his way out of the fourth instead of. I mean, last year he was kind of put in a role and worked his way onto the fourth. So I think if he wants to have a chance to dig himself out of that line, it's up to him.
I
So
agree.
he's got to show a lot of effort every game, every shift. Because I mean, even during the preseason, I didn't really see much from him at all.
I saw some really good shifts and a couple of really good plays and a whole lot of where the fuck is he?
Yeah,
His line mates are out here. Where's he at?
mhm,
You know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
but with I do think that he's got really good playmaking skills and that might work well with Dewar. So I'm interested to see. I don't not really super pumped on Hunt. I would have preferred Zari, but I like your prediction about Dewar getting moved up the lineup, getting more minutes and all that type of stuff. That's I like that. Um, so here's my next one. Andrew Mangiapane gets traded. I don't know what for.
I mean, I've got some ideas.
I've got plenty of ideas, but I feel like they keep trying him in the top six and it keeps not working.
Yep.
And I feel like they've got a couple of third liners right now that they're making $5+ million for the next couple of years. He's making $5+ million for a couple of years, but he's the only one that can be traded.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why and they need that cap, right? They need that money to sign more integral parts to the team than he is, in my opinion.
Yep.
I know there's parts of the fan base who just absolutely adore this guy. I don't get it, but um, and I'm not just saying this because I want him to get traded. I actually think that there's a possibility that they've figured out that all that tenacity doesn't really mean all that much when you can't stay on your feet. And when you can wrestle on the boards all you want, but when you're not coming out with the puck, it just doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, that's one thing we've always talked about. You can never fault his will and
Effort,
his determination and his effort. It's always there.
100%. I'd argue he's the most consistent on the effort on the team.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
if Ruziska had the effort of Mangiapane, he'd be a
Sure.
first line center
Yeah. Yeah.
and a damn good one.
Yeah.
But Mangiapane's effort means a lot less because he's not as effective as people think he is. Like
He's
I
he's
think
not he's not effective at all away from the puck.
he's one of the
He's
reasons I don't believe in all of those fancy stats because he's an analytical darling from what I hear, and I just look at him and I'm like, he's not coming out of the corners with the puck. He's
yeah.
falling over all the time. He's missing on one timers. He's like, what's the point?
Yeah, every year that goes by, I say the same thing. He, he can't take the puck away, can't pass for shit,
Yeah,
can't stay on his feet. He's got a great shot when he's able to connect. And the year that he got his, what did he get, 35 goals that year?
yeah,
And all of a sudden, that was a new standard for Mangiapane, even though
yeah.
that was the outlier year, not the 15 to 20 that he'd always been.
I
Um,
hope that this trend stops now that
sure,
tree living's gone. Somebody has a great year. You don't pay him for that year. You pay
correct.
him for
Body
what
of
the
work.
last 3 years has been, or the last 4 years has been, or in Kadri's situation, it probably should have been the last 10 years and not just the 1 year, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's 100%. But I mean, that's the way pro sports are.
yeah.
Contracts are constantly being signed with the "What have you done for me lately" mantra, and it's for better or
That's one
worse.
reason why I love Backlund's contract, his extension, because he took less and he's had, I think he's had back to back career years, hasn't he?
Backlund.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, bring that up.
I mean, last year for sure he did.
Yeah.
Um,
But he signed for less and short term for less after a career year.
no, not quite. So no, he only had 39 points, 21-22.
Okay.
Before that, there it was 32, and then 45, 47, 45,
Okay.
53, 47. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so just last year was his career year
Okay.
in
Still,
points,
I mean, yeah.
points and assists career year.
Anyways, I think that is a hot take because I haven't heard anybody else say that Mangiapane's going to get traded, but I feel like they auditioned him up there. I feel like they tried him last year with Kadri and Dubé, and Kadri and Dubé both drove the bus on that line, and Mangiapane just kind of didn't help all that much.
It was
And now they're
Ralph
realizing the
Wiggum
only
and Ralph Wiggum on the back of the bus on that, or what?
a little bit, yeah. And he falling over in the middle of the bus aisle, rolling down the. Anyways,
I'm in
um,
danger.
but yeah, exactly. But I've kind of noticed that Mangiapane is only good when he's stapled to Backlund, and that's fine, that's good. But you can't have $15 million on your third line like that, and one of them needs to go, and it's obviously not going to be Backlund or Coleman, right? So just because of their contracts, and one of them's the captain.
Yeah, I mean it is a lot of money to be spending on a third line,
Yeah,
obviously. And I mean, you gave Mangiapane that contract in hopes that he could get his ass out of the third line. But here we are. But alas, here we are.
yeah. All right, you got your last take here.
My last take. Okay, so with the lines that they've been showing the last few days, now that we're down to our final pieces of the roster for the season. Obviously, we got Huberto and Lindholm are going to be playing together right now. They got Dubé on that line, which would be nice. I think he's earned it and deserves it. You got Sharon Govich, Kadri, and Coronado, Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman. Then that last line of Hunt, Ruzicka, and Dewar, I think opens up an opportunity for what I believe is going to be a certainty that Connor Zary, before the All Star break, will be um, skating for the Flames.
Like full time,
Yeah, I
not
think
even
he's.
in and out of the lineup full time.
I think he's going to come in and they won't be able to take him out because he's going to show that much. He'll show that much of a difference because I think he's going to end up taking Rizika's spot unless he can get his shit together
Not
and
Hunt.
well, I mean Hunt
One of them.
ideally, but I think Rizika needs to show more, or else
I
he's going
think
to find himself playing for the Wranglers.
I don't think he'd clear waivers, but I do think that there's a chance that Ruziska also gets traded, and I just as a throw in to get something right. But for me, I agree. Like, fuck, we agree a lot. But Zari, I thought deserved the spot out of camp. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't have Zari on a fourth line playing fourth line minutes," and I like look at Zari's game. Zari is a grinder. Like he grinds away, and he is tenacious on the puck. He is a fourth liner if I've ever seen one, with upside. So he's to me a guy like that. Like there's some guys like Coronado, I wouldn't be happy if they had brought had him on the team and had him on the fourth line, because that's not the type of guy who would thrive on a fourth line. I think Zari I mean, I think his upside is like like maybe one day he'll be a second line center, but I think he would thrive in a fourth line role, because what a fourth line generally is fast puck retrieving grinders, and I feel like that's exactly what Zari is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and then the reason why I didn't pick Hunt as who he'd be replacing is just positional. Um, because right now I think Hunt is a one position guy. He plays left wing and that's it. Where Zari, I think, could come in and make a difference on the dot. He was consistent through the preseason. He was regularly one of the best people in faceoffs for the
Oh,
Flames.
was
So
he? I didn't actually look at face-off stats, but
I believe that's to be the case.
okay.
I better look at that before I commit on
I
that.
hope so, because we could really use some more face-off wins too. Um, I do think that if Zari comes in, I think it's more likely to be Hunt out and Rosiska moved over to the wing, because
Yeah,
Rosiska plays wing too, right?
yeah, I can see that as well.
Um, just with Rosiska's size, I want him to work out so bad, but it's just that drive isn't there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I want to see my young players looking like
Want it
they want to be on the team, and quite frankly, he just doesn't show it on a consistent basis. Obviously, he
when he
does, but
does, he's like one of the best players on the ice, but then it stops.
yeah,
Unlike Mangiapane, who always shows that he wants to be on the team, but it's not enough for him to be one of the best players on the ice most of the game,
that's right. That's right.
in my opinion. Um, are you looking up Zari's faceoff stats, or
Yeah, it's not.
it's not easy to find stats like that for the preseason?
It's not, and I think one of the issues that I'm having is the one game that he played in October certainly wasn't the one game he was actually only 25% in the dot. So
Oh,
little egg on my face on that one apparently.
oh, fair enough. Well, my last hot take is Dylan Dubé. I've said that parts of this before on the podcast. He's been given that thing where everybody has always been upset about how the Flames treated Sam Bennett. How they never gave him a fair shake up top. and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
To me, with Sam Bennett, when he was given a shot, he never produced. But when Dubé has been given a shot up top, he has produced, and then has been moved back down. But I think now with Sutter gone, I think Dylan Dubé plays top 6 minutes for 85+% of the games that he plays this season.
Can see that.
And I believe his career high is 36 points, which is 18 goals, 18 assists. I think he improves those numbers by 7 each and gets 25 and 25.
50 points from Dylan Dubé.
Maybe
Yeah.
even more.
I mean, yeah, 50 points would be 5 more than his career, because last year he had 18 and 27 for 45 points.
Oh, I thought he had 18 and 18 for some reason.
Year before he had 18 and 14.
Okay. Well, either way, I just wanted to see, because he's also one of the only players on the team who currently has shown any sort of chemistry with Elias Lindholm.
Mhm.
And he did. Again, he was given 3 games, 2 or 3 games on that top line last season, and I remember he produced 7 points and helped Lindholm and Toffoli out a lot
Yep.
on the puck retrievals and creating havoc with his speed and all that type of stuff. And I think that a guy like Elias Lindholm and a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau would really benefit from that.
I think so too. And as far as your point total, crazy to look at, his points every year since the 18-19 season have gone up in groups of 10. So he had 5
Oh, have
points,
they?
then he had 16 points, then he had 22, then 32 and 45. So something in the 50s is clearly where he's going to be next year for yet another career year. So
Heck, maybe even more than that. Maybe
yeah.
maybe 60.
No, you can't leave the 50s out, because I just told you how it's gone up every year. So
Well,
he'll be
what
in the
would you not
50s.
like him to?
I would love him to.
It's also a contract year for Dubé. Nobody's talking about that because he's restricted free agent, so he doesn't have leverage.
Yeah.
Um, but he, he's a Cochrane guy. I don't see why he wouldn't want to stay. He seems to be one of those guys who loves being in Calgary, and obviously being a Cochrane guy, he sticks around the city most of the off season and all that type of stuff. Helps out the young guys, and I'd love to see him get an extension.
Yeah, you know what? And, the first couple of seasons, maybe I can
Oh,
probably go in 3 or 4. I didn't see
you and
much
I
in him.
had some conversations about that where we disagreed
Yep,
vehemently.
yep. And I'm willing to say I was wrong. He's in the last year or two, he's actually shown quite a bit to me. And well, last year especially, him and Kadri on that line, which in my opinion, last year at the beginning of the year, Dubé was the reason why the two of them were clicking. He put in a lot of effort, first 10, 15 games that really had the two of them
Yeah, they played
flow.
really well together.
Yeah, they had a lot of flow together, and it was quite impressive to see. The NFL season is going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this October. Get in on the game day greatness. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet 5 on the NFL. That's code THPN. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, LA. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Well, you know what? Let's get into the lineup because we were talking about that. We've talked about it a little bit throughout this, but I mean, I want to see Dubé with Huberdeau and Lindholm for the first little bit, and if that doesn't work out like I think it will, then I don't see why Kadri, Coronado, and Dubé can't be a thing, because that's again like Dubé goes in and gets the puck for those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. That's for sure.
And Dubé has chemistry with Kadri, and Coronado seems to play pretty good with Kadri too. So
yeah, yeah, exactly. I can see that being the case. So then, who do you put up with Huberdeau and Lindholm? Do you think it's going to be Sharon Govich?
I think so. And I actually send this text message in to Pat at 960 in the after the post game show after the last game there. Sharon Govich plays a very similar game to Dubé, but he's bigger. He gets in, he comes. So Dubé and Sharon Govich are the only forwards on the team who come out of the corner with the puck, and Dewar come out of the corner with the puck.
Yep.
All the other guys go into the corner and get knocked over, go into the corner and don't come out with the puck, or throw a pizza up the middle, or whatever. But those guys go in to the boards wherever they're going into the boards and come out with the puck more often than not. And
Yeah.
I think that
I
whether
put
it's Dubé or
Backlund and
Sharon Govich, what's that?
I put Backlund and Coleman in that group as well, though.
Coleman's 50-50 on that.
Yeah.
But Backlund's, you're right. But I think Sharon Govich in the last two games that they played in the or the last two games that he played in the preseason there, I thought that he started showing a lot more chemistry with the team and a lot more comfortability just being able to
Yeah.
go in there and get pucks. And I don't know if you noticed that, but he really started driving in and pinning guys against the board, coming out with the puck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
making nice plays. Like
I
think
I
either
really
one of
like
those
him.
lines would be great with either one of those players.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I also like him in front of the net. Um, he seems to be a really hard body to move out of there,
Mm-hmm.
based on the couple of games that he was kind of hanging around in that position. So, yeah, I would feel comfortable with either Dubé or him, trading places on those two lines. You know, making room for Dewar, of course.
Yeah, making room for Dewar. I don't know where. Honestly, I could see a world in which Coronado ends up playing with Backlund and Mangiapane, and Coleman ends up on the fourth line.
It's not out of the realm, which is unfortunate, right? Because I think, well, I mean, Coleman can easily be bottom six. Right? He can bounce back and forth. I
Oh
think.
yeah, I think you know what. And the thing about a guy like Coleman is he is he's out there on the PK every time. You know, he's not gonna be hurting for minutes, even if he's on the fourth line. I don't think.
Right.
Right. maybe a little bit, but it's not going to be like, oh, this guy's never on the ice. You're going to hear his name throughout the game, every
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Um, I don't think there's much to talk about with the first two pairs. Like, I think Rasmus and Noah work together. I think Uyghur and Zadorov work together, and really, it's a pretty tough pair to play against the way that they play. With Zadorov's size and grit, and Uyghur just likes to get in your face all the time and yell at
That's it.
ref until he takes 24 minutes of penalties, apparently.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely a hard pairing to match up against because I mean they'll punish you,
Yeah.
and clearly you got to put the two kids, whether it be Australia or Gilbert with Tanev, right? He's been proven to be.
Well, neither of them are kids. Neither
I
of them
know,
are very young.
and I know
But
that
Australia
newbies.
has looked good,
Yeah,
I think.
I think
And
he's looked pretty good. Yeah, yeah,
very strong skater. Been pretty impressed with him.
yeah.
Um,
Gilbert unfortunately didn't get the games that he was likely
should have.
hoping because I'm assuming he suffered a concussion there.
It looked like it for sure, or
Yeah.
at least tweaked his shoulder or something like that. It wasn't pretty. Yeah, the first couple games of the preseason there, we had Gilbert get knocked out and Peltier getting knocked out, and it was just like, oh God,
Yeah, here we go.
none of our players were ever hurt with Sutter, and now our players are hurt in the first two games without him.
Yeah, we were kind of lucky. I mean, there were a
Other
couple
than
like
Tanev.
Tanev and Shillington and
Shillington was not hurt, but
well, no, not last year, the year before, because he was hurt twice.
okay.
Remember
I
that
had
that
forgotten. He's
remember that
out of sight, out
weird
of mind.
that the weirdest collision he had with the boards. It was unbelievably weird the way he went in kind of by himself and then
Oh
skated backwards
yeah,
and caught his edge and flipped back and slammed up against the boards and
yeah, yeah. I totally
holy
forgot about that.
Christ.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just almost like somebody had not loaded the game properly. Like it just, I don't understand how that even happened.
Just a lag spike.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I like the way that third pair rolls out because obviously Tanev's going to play every game that he's healthy for, and Osterley and Gilbert. I think you have one like quick offensive type defenseman, and then you have another guy who's. I don't think Gilbert's particularly slow, but
No.
he's more of a defense first and also a I'll punch you in the face if you know cause any shit. So I feel like depending on
Oh,
who we're playing against, they'll
that's,
kind of cycle those guys in and out.
yeah, I'll definitely be on a matchup. And I love the way Gilbert plays the game.
I do too.
He's hard on the boards. He hasn't backed down from a fight yet.
No,
Certainly hasn't won them all. He's not afraid to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, I like that. Is,
me
is
too.
that is that why Calgary made that waiver claim?
For AJ Greer,
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about that too. Um, I've only seen AJ Greer play a couple of games, right?
Mhm.
So I don't have a whole bunch to say as far as what I've seen from him. I know the scouting report. I know Boston fans are really upset that he didn't clear. Um, but from from the scouting report, he's kind of a guy who likes to hit a lot. He's actually fairly fast, and he likes to throw fists, but he doesn't really win a whole lot of them. It's kind of the scouting report on him. Have you watched many games of his or?
I I don't really know much about him at all, other than the fact that he can't, he doesn't know how to stay out of the penalty box. So I'm sure that'll be a hot topic through the season if he doesn't get that under wraps. But
What kind of penalties does he take? How many penalty minutes did he have last season?
last year he had 114,
How many games did he play?
61.
Holy balls!
Yeah, so
I
he's
wonder
played
how many of those
108
were
games.
fights.
Yeah, that's just a thing.
Does
Yeah,
it
there
say how many fights there?
doesn't.
I'll look that up.
He yeah, so far he's played 108 games in the NHL with 20 points and 170 penalty minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, AJ Greer has. Oh, that's
Yeah, he's 26 years old, drafted in 2015, 39th overall in the second round by Colorado. Shoots left, plays left wing, 6'3", 210 pounds. So
oh
he's a
my
big kid.
goodness. He fought Wayne Simmons. I'm
Nice.
just looking at hockey fights. Yeah, he's fought some big boys, so he's not afraid. That's for sure. I can't find how many fights he's had, but I'm
Well,
just kind of curious.
I
Kind of
suppose
curious.
with Luch going to Boston, I mean,
You might as well get their other guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not like Boston needs to.
yeah. I'm just kind of curious how many of those penalty minutes came from fights, because at least generally speaking, fights are two guys going off and not really all that detrimental to your team as
Yeah,
far as you know what I mean.
yeah, I agree. I find it interesting that he played 61 games last year and then put on waivers before the season even starts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
I have
I guess he's going
fairly
to play on the
mediocre.
fourth line.
What's that?
I guess what we're saying is he's likely going to play on the fourth line.
Sometimes, and then sometimes he won't. That's kind of the depth guy, right? Like, is what it is. You can't really get too mad at it as long as he's cheap. So can't
Yep,
really argue with it too much.
didn't cost us anything.
You need some depth, and he's not slow. And I think a lot of teams hire slow enforcers like Boston and Toronto, and you know guys going after Reeves and Lucic, and like yeah, those guys are nuclear deterrents as they say, but they're like it's hard to be a deterrent when you're fucking 60 feet away from the play.
Yeah, yeah. When you can't keep up with the play, then yeah, you're only a deterrent after the whistle.
Yeah. Um. Well, I wanted to do just a random little thing here. Um. What's your cup finals prediction for this year?
Cup
Putting you on the
finals.
spot a little bit.
Um, Colorado and Carolina.
That's not a bad shout at all. I think both of those teams could easily get in there. Who do you think wins out of there, out of those two?
Out of those two, I think Carolina does.
Yeah. I I'll you know what? I'll disagree with that because Carolina reminds me a lot of the Sharks of about 8 years ago, where they just could not get it done. They were always so good in the regular season, and then they just could not get over that hump of the second or third round or whatever it was in the playoffs. Um, I could see them getting to the finals, but I don't think they have the firepower they're so good defensively, and they have 3 great goalies. And honestly, I think part of it is like Brendan Moore is obviously a great coach, but I think that there comes a point where the defense first style that they have, or that he has them playing, keeps them from scoring enough goals to win playoff games.
That's fair.
Um,
I
but I could
I
see it because they are such a good team. But
they're a great team, and I personally think that that defense first mentality in playoffs is key. And having, I mean, obviously, you have really good goaltending.
yeah,
I think that was the reason for picking that is I think there's a difference in goaltending between the two teams.
I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if either of those teams won. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the finals matchup and Carolina won it all. Um, I just there's a few teams I put in front of them. I've got Dallas and New Jersey, um, and I think I figured New Jersey was going to go after Hellebuck, but
Yeah,
Hellebuck signed today, extended with no move clause for 1 or 2 of the years. I think I can't remember exactly,
right.
but so he's not going anywhere. But I do feel like they're going to upgrade their goalie if they need to. But I also feel like there's a chance that Akira Schmid is the real thing. Um, and he will take the starter net away from Vitek Vanacek, and their insane offense and their pretty good defense
Mhm.
will get them to the finals, but they will lose to Dallas. Um, I think that they will spend the year kind of making sure Ottinger isn't overplayed and gets to the playoffs without being overplayed.
Yeah,
And I think that they have so much depth. I think that Matt Duchene for 3.5 mil is so good. They have great defense. Um, they have Heiskanen is so good. Robertson's so good. Hintz is so good. Pavelski is just the ageless wonder of today.
yeah.
Um,
So
ben,
now's the time that you have to actually say why you think Dallas is going, right? Just for Joe and playoff points. I think you made a prediction earlier
oh,
today on social
this
media.
isn't why I think. I just saw the stat the other day. This isn't why I think that they're going. I think they're going because they're a really really good fucking team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's if he scores 10 more playoff goals, he'll move into 6th all time, tied with Mike Bossy, and he'll pass guys like Mario Lemieux and Joe Sakic.
And I mean, let's be honest, 10 playoff goals for Joe is not out of the realm of possibilities.
In 2 rounds.
And yeah,
never,
exactly.
never mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Mr. Clutch
I'd
in the
have to look
playoffs.
at I'd have to look it up again. But I think that the reason I stopped at tied for 6th is because I think 6th is 85 playoff goals, and then I think after that is where it starts getting into the ridiculous numbers like 100,
Yeah.
130 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, he'll pass if I remember correctly. If he scores 10 more, he'll pass Sakic, Lemieux, Rocket Richard, just like all sorts of legends.
It's gross.
Yeah.
Well, how many times have you been watching a game against Dallas and just out of the blue, fucking Joe?
Front of
Like,
the net. Tip in,
fuck.
tip in, tip in.
Like, he's. I mean, he's been a Flames killer for his whole career.
His whole career. And I remember when he was rumored to be traded, and the one thing we were missing was a second line center. And the one thing we were missing was a net front presence.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, that's the guy.
7 first round picks. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, not 7 first round picks, but
No. Can you imagine?
yeah, but that would have been great.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's I can, I can't I think if all four teams that we just picked there, I think they all have a pretty legitimate chance to be playing in that final game.
I agree.
And it's, I mean, Dallas, I mean, after we had that round with them 21-22, 21-22 year, I I gained some respect for them because before that I didn't think they were much of anything. But I mean, Robertson's a freaking stud.
And he
Robinson,
didn't even do much
no, he didn't do
that series.
in the round, but I started paying more attention to them.
Yeah.
Like last year, I watched more of them and stuff, and yeah, I mean, obviously they've got their Jamie Benns and stuff like that, which whatever. He's always kind of been the same chippy
Yeah.
garbage player that I don't like Jamie Benn. Never have.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
does some pretty messed up shit. But
yeah, he's pretty cheap.
one thing I will say about Dallas is they've built their team right, whereas they saw the end coming for Sagan and Ben.
Mhm.
And they kind of saw that they had a few pieces, but not enough of younger pieces coming up.
Yeah.
So they kind of like restocked the cupboards, and I wouldn't call it tanked, but semi tanked for a couple of years. Got Hintz, got Robertson, got Heiskanen, and now they have Johnston and Maverick Bork, and they have all sorts of like really good
Mhm.
young talent coming in that's going to replace Ben and replace Sagan and replace Duchesne now that they have him.
Yeah.
And they're going they're going to go from contending to contending with a different core. And they took like 2 or 3 years off of contending to do it, but they did that right.
Well,
And
that's how you build a team, right?
yeah,
That's what Calgary needs
asset
to
management
understand.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Bringing in, drafting properly and getting high draft picks for a couple of years can do wonders.
Well, that's right. What what would the fans rather do? Hover around the mediocre for I don't know how long we've been in it, 20 years,
Yeah.
or take a couple of years off, restock the shelves, make another push for it. In my opinion, it's just so much better than just continuing to sign aging bets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
I'm happy we didn't do that this year. I mean, I guess other than Backlund, but
no, you can't. I mean, that's not. I'm talking about UFAs.
yeah.
We always sign the one big name through the summer, and he's supposed to be the one that just pushes over the hump, and year after year after year, you
Adrian.
just yeah, Neil. Like there's so many that we've done over the last 20 years.
So funny. I was listening to another podcast earlier, and they were talking about um Montreal and how Montreal's, you know, not quite ready to take that next step yet, but they have guys like Monahan who they can sell at the deadline and get picks and young players. And I was like, imagine getting picks and young players for Monahan instead of selling, like having to pay a first round pick to
Yeah.
get rid of the last year of his contract just so you can
Uh,
sign a 31-year-old to a 7-year deal for $3 million too much.
Fuck you, Brad.
Sorry, Chris.
Like he just, yeah,
He literally fucked everything up and left.
yeah. Like he just, well, my work here is done, and guess I mean, hopefully he does it to Toronto too. I mean,
That would be nice.
yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah.
He has
First thing he did once he
no
got to
ability.
Toronto was $13.5 million worth of a guy who's injured half the year.
Yeah, not bad, not bad at all. Seems about par.
At least it's only 4 years though.
Yeah,
Wish he
yeah,
would have
that
done that around here.
right. Yeah,
Other
well,
than Kachuk.
did
Kachuk
you
would have been nice to have for 8.
not three? Did you do 3 or 2?
I think it was 3.
It was 3. Yeah. Well, apparently it was
He
5
wanted
too
8 at
little.
the time. But Brad was like, nope. Need for a leak.
You gotta have Pro League. Can't have the 3M line without one of those M's.
Summer of bad.
We're bad. Yeah. Well, there you have it, everybody. Bold predictions and depression to round it off. Thanks, Dylan.
Well,
Well, as per usual, I like to say thanks to everybody for watching, following, liking, sharing, all those fun things. We're trying to build a brand. We're kind of working on a lot of things when it comes to the audio and the production side of doing the podcast, and we're going to be making some changes here in the very near future. Uh, going with some better qualities and some just different formatting, things like that. And it's going to be fun. It'll
yeah,
be it'll make you want to share again.
a
So
little bit more. Yeah.
yeah. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Armchair GM, Armchair GM _pod, and follow my updates. I put links there for the YouTube shows, for the Spotify shows, and share a lot of the Hockey Podcast Network stuff and things like that.
Follow them too, by the way.
Yeah, follow them. The advert in the middle of the show. Don't forget to sign up for DraftKings and for the love of God, use that promo code, the THPN. You might as well save some money and make some money all at the same time.
Yeah. Check us out on Spotify, Apple, your favorite podcatcher, all that type of stuff. And go Flames go. It should be a fun time over the next couple weeks, the beginning of the season, to see what we have as the system gets worked out. The defensive zone gets a little bit more comfort, and yeah,
Yep.
hopefully it makes us a much better team.
Yep. Don't forget Flames game Wednesday, the 11th, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard, beginning of the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go Flames.
Cheers.